Hi, I'm Rebecca Lang, Toronto real estate broker, and welcome to my November market update for the City of Toronto. As has become the trend of late, there is activity afoot that is sure to satisfy both the Toronto real estate optimists and the negative Nancys out there. On the positive, and as traditionally expected, the number of transactions in October bumped up compared to the previous month. In fact, the percentage by which these sales volumes increased was higher than is typically seen. The overall average selling price was also up over September, and the number of active listings was down, resulting in a decline in the months of inventory. These are all pretty positive signs, right? Well, on the flip side, the negative Nancys will be quick to point out that year over year, the number of listings is still way up compared to last year. Overall sales volumes are way down, and we are now starting to see year over year price declines show up in some of the stats. This last point is notable because while naysayers have been emphasizing how much prices have dropped since our springtime market highs, market optimists have been counteracting this by saying that you need to dismiss early 2017 as an aberration and look to the year-over-year price numbers, which have of course remained positive. Now, however, we have a month where the average selling price of detached Toronto homes is actually down compared to last year. And as we proceed into the winter and early spring market, which encompasses the same months when the exuberance really began to take hold in late 2016 and early 2017, these year-over-year price declines are almost sure to become a trend, even if we have month-over-month stability. Some are warning that seeing negative year-over-year results in the news headlines will somehow particularly be damaging to the market psychology. Personally, I am of the mind that by now the market is already conditioned to realizing and accepting the amount by which we are off from the 2017 peak. In essence, it's old news. And besides, for now at least, I still have the home price index to cling to, which is still showing a year-over-year increase for detached homes. In this optimist-pessimist comparison, I haven't mentioned the OSFI's expanded stress test. In case you haven't heard about it yet, coming soon, everyone borrowing from a federally regulated lender will need to qualify for their mortgage based on a rate that is higher than the actual rate they'll be paying. This would undercut a borrower's maximum mortgage amount and hence their buying power, regardless of how small their mortgage is going to be. There aren't really ways around it either. Choosing a longer amortization could help mitigate some of the effect on the purchasing power, but it won't fully offset it. Using a non-federally regulated lender isn't really a solution either, as you will likely face higher interest rates. And in the case of credit unions, a lot of them are looking to implement the same stress test even though they don't have to. Finding a side hustle or some other way to make money could help a bit, but keep in mind that these days lenders are not as kind to the self-employed and other folks with income that is not from a traditional long-term 40 hours a week employee type relationship. Finding a mortgage co-signer is probably the best workaround. So it might be a good time to sign up for LifeMates instead of Tinder and getting a head start on a Christmas wish list that includes a mortgage guarantor as the only item. The worst part about the expanded stress test is the impact that will be felt as mortgage renewals come up, when increased numbers of borrowers won't be able to shop around and at the end up being forced to remain with the same lender. As you can see, I'm not too enthralled by these rule changes, and other than potentially preventing a very small proportion of borrowers from getting in over their heads in debt and maybe higher profits for the big banks that result in higher dividend yields in my bank stocks, I don't see anything that positive coming from this. In terms of an immediate market response, there was recent speculation that buyers who were thinking of buying in the new year would accelerate their plans and try to purchase in November or December before the rules came into effect. This has been the traditional market response when the government has announced mortgage changes in the past. But so far this time, I'm not witnessing such a rush out into the field, and the early November sales stats aren't supporting this theory either. It appears that at least some sellers did subscribe to the theory that there'd be a flood of buyers, as I am seeing a larger than normal swell of new listings since Halloween. It's not quite a surge, but it will likely be enough to push up the months of inventory on the market by the end of November. All that said, while I disapprove of the timing and some of the details of the rule changes, I'm becoming a bit more hopeful that the expanded stress test won't be as devastating as some fear. After all, There already has been a stress test in place for the past year for those purchasing with less than 20% down and those choosing either variable rate mortgages or fixed terms of less than 5 years. It's only the 5-year fixed term borrowing segment who have been getting away without the stress test. Furthermore, it's not like all home buyers have been borrowing at their max. Most of my buyer clients have a psychological limit that is much lower than what the lenders offer, usually because they want to keep their monthly payments in check so they can still afford to pay for expenses like daycare or the occasional vacation. If their borrowing limit is cut by 20% thanks to the stress test, it's not like they are going to spend 20% less on a home, and it certainly doesn't follow that there will be a 20% decrease in home prices as a result. Time will tell, and there will be an adjustment period, but like I said, I'm far from panicked by this change. Before I move away from the stress test topic, I just wanted to give out some pragmatic advice to those who are actively house shopping now or who have already purchased but not closed, or even those who have a mortgage renewal coming up. Don't assume that you actually have until January 1st to avoid the new stress test. Some lenders are implementing the changes sooner, and every lender is different. Furthermore, the lender needs to have fully underwritten and approved your new mortgage by their respective deadline. A pre-approval doesn't count, and even if it is valid for another 3 months. If you need help with figuring out what the deadline is for your situation, get in touch with your lender, or if you don't have one, then I have a number of excellent mortgage professionals I can put you in touch with. Please get in touch and I would be happy to refer you based on your situation. Moving on to the market stats. October ended with 5,681 active listings, which is just down ever so slightly from September's 5,732 and up 28% compared to last year's undersupplied level of 4,438. This October ended with 1.9 months of inventory, which is down from the 2.5 months of inventory in September, effectively shifting the market even more in favor of sellers. I mentioned earlier that November listings are thus far trending upward, but not enough to push us outside the range of our current moderate sellers market. For the average sale price for all home types in the City of Toronto, it was $818,000, which is up 6.2% compared to October of last year and up 1% compared to September. For detached homes, the average sale price was $1,287,000, which is down 1.2% compared to last year and down 5% compared to September. The Home Price Index puts detached homes at a 3.9% increase over last year and pretty much flat compared to September. Whichever way you look at it, detached home values in the city were not very strong in October, despite the increase in their sales activity. Moving on to semi-detached homes. The average was $948,000, up 5.1% over last year. Condo towns were at $636,000, which is up 8.9% compared to 2016. And finally, the average for condo apartments was $555,000, which is yet another big increase over last year, up 20.9%. Condos are still leading the way in our market, and in particular, downtown. In my last couple of videos, I have mentioned how the average downtown condo is up over $120,000 compared to last year, and that amount is still holding. Downtown condo listings are also still down compared to last year, and the inventory levels are keeping this segment in a fairly strong seller's market. It's definitely still a great time to be a downtown condo owner, and given the convergence in pricing between condos and freehold homes, it is an opportune time for condo dwellers to make the move to freehold. Get in touch with me if this is something you would like to explore, and as always, feel free to contact me with any of your real estate questions. You can call or text me directly at 416-357-1059 or connect with me through rebeccalang.ca. That wrapped things up for this month. If you're watching on YouTube and enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I'm Rebecca Lang, Toronto Real Estate Broker.